So, for a long time, we've seen various gacha communities get incredibly defensive over their game in a way that goes far beyond trash talking. It feels as if no one is willing to budge and say, you know what, yeah, maybe it would be nice if my game implemented XYZ. Everyone is either in attack or defense mode, and in my opinion, it's completely unnecessary. I often like to say that people who play the big four gacha games are not gacha players, they're open world anime RPG players. Of course, Star Rail specifically is a turn-based game. I think it's still fair to say that the majority of people who play these four do not play other gacha games actively, if really at all. People love to say that's just how gacha games are, despite having no idea what other gacha games are actually like. So, as someone who has played several gacha games both in the past and actively now, I want to talk about various things within the genre that could exist within the big four, but don't, either because the player base doesn't know what they're missing, or because the community is too busy fighting over what game is better, when in reality, they're all predatory, they're all mid, and they're all serving you the smallest meal they can while pretending the ingredients are fancy enough to justify the insane monetary and time investment required to play them. Before we get into the list, I want to briefly clarify my biases and what the goal of this video is and is not. As I briefly showed before, I've played all of the big four and played them on release. I quit Genshin during Inazuma, I quit Zenless after Jane Doe and returned recently for the Astro Yao banner, I quit Wuthering Waves after Yin Lin and returned during the Camellia banner ahead of 2.0, this is currently my favorite of the four. I took several breaks from Star Rail, but it's by far my most played of these. However, I don't enjoy the game as much and I've considered taking another break, but I hate playing catch up, and if I quit again, there's a good chance I just don't come back, so we'll see. This video is not me attacking you as a person because of the game you play. This video is not me telling you to quit your game. This video is not me telling you to play a different gacha game. And this video is not me saying that these other games are perfect or less predatory. This video is an attempt to make the big four communities more informed about positive systems that exist in other gacha games so that we can give better feedback to companies like MiHoYo and Kuro Games. And this video is also me hoping that we can move the discussion away from what game is better and more towards how can the developers of my game take it to the next step and improve my experience even more. With that being said, let's talk about it. The first group of features I want to talk about are those directly related to the gacha itself, not the price per pull, but rather the systems around pulling that either make the game more free-to-play friendly or accessible to free-to-play new and or returning players. Let's start with a system seen in games like Reverse 1999, AFK Journey, Nikke, Ash Echoes, and the new Arknights Enfield. Rate up characters moving to the standard banner. This is exactly what it sounds like. In Reverse 1999 and Ash Echoes, 3 patches after a rate up character's banner ends, that character is then added to the standard banner, which means instead of losing your 50-50 to one of these characters, you could instead lose it to one of these. What's nice about this system is that losing a 50-50 feels much less punishing, and in many cases can actually result in you having more variety in your roster. These games also still have rerun banners, so if you want to wait for a specific unit, you still can. I think it's also worth noting that this doesn't come at the cost of terrible rates. In fact, both of these games have better rates than the big four. In Ash Echoes, the base rate for a 6-star is 1.2%, with a soft pity at 60 and guarantee at 77. At 69 pulls, your chances at a 6-star are already 50%. In Reverse 1999, they take it a bit further, with a base rate of 1.5%, soft pity at 60, guarantee at 70, and they don't even have a weapon banner. Really makes you wonder why a game like Zenless feels the need to have a base rate of 0.6% with guarantee at 90 pulls and no soft pity. By the way, I looked this up to confirm if this comment on soft pity is true since it's not stated anywhere in game. I've seen some people claim there is a soft pity, but I haven't seen proof outside of anecdotal evidence and comparisons to Genshin and Star Rail. With that said, I think we can all agree we would still rather not lose our 50-50. So what if there was an even better system? One that let you have more control over your pulls? Well, that brings us to our next feature seen in Nikke and the AFK games, the wishlist. The way these work varies from game to game, so let's take a look at Nikke as an example. In Nikke, typically during major patch updates, the general pool is updated to include all the rate-up characters that have been released since the previous major update, with some minor exceptions such as collab characters. You select 5 characters from each of the 4 factions for a total of 20 wishlisted characters. When you get an SSR, which is 4% or 1 in 25 pulls, it is guaranteed to be one of these selected units. It's also worth noting that this does not use your precious rate-up tickets, and with the generosity of the game and frequency of events, you will be pulling on this banner a lot and getting a lot of dupes, which are important for account progression. That means while targeting one specific character might not be easy, you actually don't really want to focus on pulling one character. Game modes like the towers require teams consisting of units from a single faction, with one tower for each faction. This also allows you to build teams best suited for the stage you're playing and not feel forced to just play the meta for the game to even feel playable in the first place. Something I want to briefly mention is that in the case of AFK Journey, it's even recommended to pull the standard wishlist banner since it's actually better for your account to build out your roster. This post by Maleficent Yako does a great job of summarizing why this is the case. Now, maybe you don't like dupes, and when every new Star Rail character is coming with the caveat of, yeah, they're good, but you need E1S1. Robin's E1 is a must. You need Rapper's Sig to function. Man, Eglair has a large energy pool. I wish I had some energy regen. Uh-oh. Well, enter Etheria Restart, a gacha game which is set to release this year that has recently had an open beta test that I participated in and honestly enjoyed quite a lot. In Etheria Restart, there is no reliance on dupes. Are these nice to have? Of course. And whales can still pull copies of characters to improve them, but they don't fix fundamental flaws of the character that have been artificially created by the developer. Instead, they give generic stat improvements if you want to spoil your favorite waifu or husbando. Now, I'm sure some people like dupes and the extra mechanics they sometimes provide, but when bad luck can lead to needing upwards of 400 pulls for one extra copy and their weapon, which by the way is using Wuthering Waves' rates, which is ironically the game with the best gacha rates of the big 4 and the least dupe reliant characters. Even if we use the median of 70 pulls and win one of our 50-50s, keeping in mind the weapon is guaranteed, that's still 280 pulls. Don't get me started on Zenless having a worst case scenario of 540. And for the people still saying, that's just gacha games, no it's not. Etheria Restart doesn't require dupes. Games like Nikke and AFK games have systems to enable a significant number of dupes. Heaven Burns Red has tokens to aid in getting dupes, and a weekly meter that when filled up gives a chosen character a free additional copy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The last system in this category I want to briefly mention is friendship summons, seen in a large amount of gacha games, but to name a few, Ash Echoes, AFK Arena, 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross, and Nikke. Essentially, every day you can send and receive friend tokens. These friend tokens can either be used to directly pull on a game's friendship banner, or used in a friendship store that will have some kind of friendship ticket within them. The rates and quality of these banners aren't typically that good, but they exist and I thought it would be worth mentioning since the big 4 all have friends lists and could very reasonably add in this system. With that said, we can move on to the more tangible side of things and talk about in-game systems. So I'll be honest, editing this section, I kind of felt like I was glazing Girls Frontline 2 quite a bit, so I just wanted to remind everyone that the goal of this video is to talk about good systems and features, not to review or compare entire products. It just so happens that GFL 2 has a lot of good systems and is a good recent example, but yeah, back to the video. A popular system seen in many gacha games including Girls Frontline 2, Raid Shadow Legends, the AFK games, Counterside, Ash Echoes, and Summoner's War is guilds. Maybe you know it as platoons or clans, and for the sake of this video, I'll pretty much use these terms interchangeably. These systems vary a lot from game to game, so I'll break down how it works in Girls Frontline 2 to give you an idea of what they are. In Girls Frontline 2, when you join a guild, you gain access to daily rewards just for being there. These generally consist of level up materials, ascension materials, and currency. Since the game only has 4 materials, 1 material to ascend characters, 1 to level them up, 1 to level up weapons, and 1 for neural helix, these are actually actually helpful, since there aren't 20 different materials depending on damage type, weapon type, or any of those different factors. There's also daily missions that give additional rewards and level up the platoon, granting various benefits, such as increased member limit and increased character stats when using a friend or guild member's character in Gunsmoke Frontline. This is a bi-weekly game mode that gives more tokens to be used in the store. That brings us to our next feature of the guilds, which is the guild shop. In the case of Girls Frontline 2, you can purchase Papasha along with her signature weapon, as well as the duplicates to max out the character's skills and weapon traits. You'll also find the usual materials and currency here, and even both standard and rate up pools. While not present in Girls Frontline 2, guilds also tend to have a guild chat to be able to communicate with people in your guild, either to ask for advice or just to chat with others. To slowly move away from Girls Frontline 2, let's talk about 3 types of farming that can be seen in other gacha games. Girls Frontline 2, while more convenient than the big 4, in my opinion, is actually the weakest of the 3 systems we're going to talk about. Once a stage has been cleared, you can auto the stage, in which you select how many runs you want to simulate with your available energy, wait a few seconds, and all your rewards are there. No questions asked, no mindless killing of enemies that just die when you even look in their direction. So how do we go further than instant sweeping? Well, in Ethereal Restart, you have continuous battle, a feature where, similar to Star Rail, your team fights automatically, but with 2 major differences. First being that it runs in the background while you play other aspects of the game, such as playing the story, reading character kits, or even talking in global chat. This is great because it allows you to farm things while you are actively playing the game. You don't need to divide your time between going into dungeons and farming gear and then doing the story. They can be done at the same time. So then, how do we go even further? What is that third system? Well, what if you could farm without even being on the game? My current favorite gacha game, which I strongly believe has one of, if not the best stories of any gacha game to date, is none other than Heaven Burns Red. Now, this video is not about the more subjective side of gacha, such as music, story, or animations. I chose to leave those comparisons out of this video, but if you want to see a video breaking down the potential that gacha stories and storytelling can have, let me know. That being said, let's talk about farming in Heaven Burns Red. In this game, most gear comes from crafting, with a couple minor exceptions. There are 2 materials used in crafting, the first being GP, the standard currency of the game farmed in the arena. The second is gems, such as ruby, sapphire, diamond, and more, which are farmed in the hyperbolic time arena, referred to as HTA, or can be actively farmed in gem flashbacks. When you enter the standard arena, you want to pick the highest stage you can clear in less than 30 seconds for the most efficiency. In HTA, the fight scales with the rarity of material you're looking to farm, so generally speaking, you want to farm diamonds and another gem you need while clearing in less than 1 minute again for the most efficiency. Once the fight is finished, you can choose to fight again in power saver mode, at which point you just quit the game. Alt F4. Yep, the timer when you begin playing the game is around 8 hours, and as you level up, this increases. In all honesty, I'm a lower level than others as I haven't always been spending my stamina, and my timer is still at 18 hours. Oh, and if it wasn't obvious, AFK farming costs 0 stamina. I'll briefly touch on a couple features I've chosen to skip over for this video, but if people want a follow-up video with more systems from other games, let me know. Mod keys are Girls Frontline 2's way of retroactively buffing characters, and with the recent Star Rail post about potentially buffing old units, I'll wait to see what that looks like. Lock plans are a feature that auto-lock gear based on whatever criteria you set. It allows you to quickly identify usable pieces and scrap everything else efficiently. The other 4, being story, animations, skill expression, and music, are very subjective, and I wanted to keep this video to more tangible changes that aren't just telling the company to fire their lead director or something. Though maybe I'll make a video talking about some genuine critique of things like Star Rail 3.0's story and specific reasons I think it failed to deliver. So anyway, what features would you like to see implemented? Maybe it's the recruitment system in Arknights that gives around 8 free pulls daily, though with lower rates than the banners. Maybe it's the fleshed out character gifting system in Aeon's Echo and GFL2 that give rewards like pulls and new interactions. Or maybe you just have a degradation kink and enjoy when you get served mediocrity. I don't know. Live your life however you want to. I'm not going to judge you. But with that said, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and I'll see you next time.